The storm had passed in the night, leaving the prairie damp and smelling of rain. Jacob Mallory, a rancher hardened by years of labor and loneliness, was tending to his horses when he heard the rumble of a wagon approaching. He squinted into the rising sun, suspicion already stirring in his gut. Out here, unannounced visitors rarely meant good news. The wagon rolled into his yard, and 3 men jumped down. The kind of men Jacob had grown used to avoiding cruel eyes. Dirty boots, laughter that carried no warmth. Mallory, the biggest one, called, his grin sharp as a knife. "We brought you a gift." Jacob's jaw tightened. "I didn't ask for one." But they didn't care. With a cruel chuckle, they shoved something, or rather, someone, off the wagon bed. She stumbled forward into the dirt, her body trembling, her eyes wide with terror. A young woman, Chinese by her features, barely covered with a torn blanket clutched around her shoulders. Her hair was matted, her lips cracked, her bare feet cut from the rough boards of travel. She looked utterly broken, and yet even in her fragile form, Jacob saw a spark in her dark eyes that refused to die. The men roared with laughter. "Ain't she pretty? Thought you could use some company out here in the middle of nowhere. She's yours now, Mallory. Consider it a joke." Jacob's stomach churned. This wasn't a gift. It was cruelty wrapped in human skin. His fists clenched at his sides, but he forced his voice to stay steady. "Get off my land." The leader sneered. "You'll thank us later. A lonely man like you, you'll see the use. If not, well, guess she's starve." With that, they climbed back onto their wagon, still laughing, and disappeared down the trail, leaving Jacob alone with the girl. For a long moment, the only sound was her shallow breathing, her eyes darting between him and the open land as though she expected to be struck. Jacob knelt slowly, careful not to startle her. "You're safe here," he said gruffly, unsure if she even understood. "No harm will come to you, not while you're under my roof." She flinched at his voice, clutching the blanket tighter, but didn't run. Jacob extended a hand not to grab, but to help. After a long hesitation, she let him guide her inside. That night, Jacob couldn't sleep. The image of her trembling in the dirt burned into his mind. She had no name, no past she dared speak of, but he knew enough. She had been taken broken, treated as nothing more than a cruel joke. Anger boiled in his chest, but alongside it came something else he hadn't felt in years: responsibility. He had nothing left in his life but this ranch and the silence of the prairie. But now, this fragile soul had been left in his care, and Jacob vowed silently to himself that those men would never get her back, and he would never let her break, not while his blood still ran warm. What Jacob didn't know, as he watched her sit by the firelight, eyes flickering like shadows, was that she carried secrets of her own, and that before long, those secrets would shake his world to its core. The days that followed were quiet but heavy with unspoken tension. The girl who finally whispered her name as May moved through the ranch, like a ghost, silent and careful, as if every step risked punishment. Jacob gave her space, leaving food on the table, blankets on the chair, tools nearby should she want to work. But one evening, returning early from checking fence lines, he caught sight of her behind the barn. At first, he thought she was merely stretching, her arms raised, her body moving slowly. But as he watched, her movements sharpened, flowing from one form into another with startling precision. Her hands cut the air, her feet twisted and struck the dirt in patterns Jacob had never seen. It was no dance, it was combat. She moved with the grace of water and the strength of stone, her body alive with purpose, her eyes fierce, not fragile. Jacob stepped closer, the creak of his boots startling her. Instantly she dropped into silence, shame flushing her face as she pulled the blanket tighter around her. "Don't stop," Jacob said, voice low. That was something else. She shook her head quickly, retreating. But Jacob saw it now. May wasn't helpless. She had been trained, taught to fight, to defend herself. The cruel joke those men thought they played had brought him not a victim, but a survivor with fire burning deep inside. The truth of it came sooner than expected. Near dusk, the rumble of a wagon broke the silence again. The same men returned, for this time, their laughter gone, replaced by hard eyes. Jacob felt his stomach tighten as they dismounted. "Mallory," the leader sneered, "time to hand her over. We heard you been keeping her all cozy here, but she ain't yours." Jacob leveled his shotgun at them, his voice cold. "She's under my roof. That makes her mine to protect. You'll leave now." They sneered, stepping forward, hands on pistols. But before Jacob could even fire, May slipped past him. She stepped onto the dirt, her face calm, her body steady. "No," she said, her voice clear for the first time. "I am not theirs. Not anymore." The men laughed, but their laughter shattered when May moved. Like a storm breaking free, she struck. Her palm slammed into one man's chest, sending him sprawling. She spun, her foot lashing out, cracking against another's jaw. The others tried to draw guns, but May was faster, weaving between them, striking with a speed and force that stunned even Jacob. Within moments, 3 men lay groaning in the dirt, one clutching his arm, another gasping for air. The leader staggered back, eyes wide with shock, and spat into the dust. "She's a devil," he snarled, scrambling for the wagon. "Keep her, Mallory, but this ain't over." The wagon rattled away, leaving silence heavy in the yard. May stood trembling, her chest rising and falling, her eyes blazing with defiance. Jacob lowered his gun, staring at her not with pity but with awe. "You saved us," he muttered, still stunned. She shook her head. "I saved me. And you." Jacob stepped closer, his voice softer than he meant it to be. "You ain't a burden, May. You're something else entirely." She looked at him, fear and pride warring in her gaze. And for the first time, Jacob felt something shift inside him, a fragile seed of hope, planted in the ashes of cruelty. That night, as they sat by the fire, silence stretched between them. But it wasn't the silence of fear. It was something steadier, something warmer. Jacob realized the joke those men thought they had played had turned into their own undoing. For they had not given him a broken girl. They had given him a warrior. And maybe, just maybe, someone who could heal the hollow parts of his own life. As the flames crackled, Jacob turned to the camera in his mind. "Speaking to you, the listener of this story. Life will always throw cruelty, trials, and storms your way. But sometimes, just when you think you've been dealt the harshest hand, life delivers the very thing that can change you forever. And if this story moved you, inspired you, or kept you hooked till the end, then make sure you subscribe to this channel, because more powerful stories are coming. Stories of strength, survival, and unexpected hope, and you won't want to miss them.